They called the group chat Fraud Academy. Not a code name, not encrypted, just out there for everyone to see. Fraud Academy. Like a school, but a school for stealing. The principal was a 25-year-old rapper from Montgomery, Alabama. Stage name? Hunted K. His album, released while federal investigators were building a case against him, was called Swipe God. Now, what is swiping? Well, that's street slang for check and credit card fraud. Stealing, altering, and cashing. And in an interview he gave to a hip-hop media outlet, he explained the title. And I'm quoting directly here. I listen to all my music I made, and then I hear what I'm talking about, and I'm like, damn, I'm talking about swiping. So I named the album that. His favorite track? What You Know About Swiping. And he showed them exactly what he knew. 8 defendants, 2 postal workers, 1 bank teller, over $2 million in fraudulent checks deposited. 648 months of combined federal prison time. And as far as I can tell, I don't think anyone's told this story yet. What happens when criminals name their conspiracy Fraud Academy and can't resist rapping about it? How safe is your mail when the people stealing it are the same people you trusted to deliver it? Hey, I'm Steve Rode, and I've spent 30 years as an investigative writer tracking financial criminals and years in emergency services as a police dispatcher and chief pilot for public safety operations. The events described in this episode are based on federal court documents, trial testimony, jury verdicts, and public records. All individuals are referred to by their legal status at the time of the events described or their trial outcomes. This is the story of a self-documenting criminal who built the evidence against himself, one track at a time. Hey, before I tell you about Hunter Hudson, I need to explain what he was doing, because check fraud sounds like something from the 1980s. It's not. It starts with stolen mail, checks that were supposed to reach a person, a business, a charity, a club. And then those checks get altered, not forged from scratch. Altered. The signature is still there. The check still looks real. But the payee and the amount, that gets changed. The technique is called check washing. They use household chemicals like acetone, nail polish remover, to dissolve the ink. The signature stays, the paper stays, but the name and the amount disappear. And then they rewrite it. And once that happens, well, the fraud becomes a race. How fast can you move the money before the victim notices, before the bank flags it, and before the paper trail catches up? It seems simple on paper, but it's devastating in real life. And according to the U.S. Treasury Department, check fraud increased 385% nationwide since 2020. The Fraud Academy didn't invent check washing, but they turned it into a workflow. Most check fraudsters have to get lucky. They drive around looking for mailboxes, hope to find something valuable, and then take what they can get. The Fraud Academy had something even better. They had a pipeline. According to court documents, 2 postal workers in the Montgomery, Alabama area were feeding them stolen mail directly. Checks pulled before they ever reached their destination. business checks, personal checks, government checks. And one of those postal workers was James Glover. 44 years old, a mail carrier. The kind of job where people trust you with their bills, their social security statements, their correspondence with the government. According to trial testimony, during September and October of 2022, while working his mail route, Glover was stealing that mail. The postal worker who brought your mail was the one taking it. And once the Fraud Academy had altered checks ready to deposit, they had someone on the inside at the bank, too. It was a teller who would process them without questions. And I'll come back to exactly how much damage that teller did. Before I tell you about Hunter Hudson's operation, let me tell you about Hunter Hudson. Because this was not someone without options.
I graduated high school and I graduated college.
Okay. Yeah. Salute to you for that, man.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to college at?
I went to Tuskegee University.
Okay.
Tuskegee University, a historically black university, founded in 1881, one of the most respected HBCUs in America. Hudson had an education, and he had credentials. But when asked about his childhood,
My 2-bedroom trailer, you feel me? I got 4 siblings, you feel me, that stayed in the house with my mama.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so shit, we had to put beds together, shit, stay warm, shit, holding the walls and shit. I came from like to see where I'm at now, shit, I'm blessed, like.
Yeah.
and when asked when he started the street life, what he called jumping off the porch,
So when would you say you jumped off the porch? How old were you?
Shit, I ain't gonna lie, probably like 16, 17.
Okay.
Like 16, 17, I started, feel me? Started trying to make my own movie, feel me? You know, everybody, I grew up, feel me? That's just part of you, feel me? You ain't blessed, you feel me? You ain't come out the womb, silver spoon. It really ain't gonna be no, you gotta find your own way to get it.
So here's what we have. A Tuskegee graduate from a 2-bedroom trailer who chose fraud at 16. Not because he had no other path, because he chose this one. Hunter Hudson didn't just steal mail himself. According to investigators, he drove across the Southeast, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and he recruited. He had charisma. Venice Police Captain Eric Hill described Hudson's method to reporters. He said, he drove around throughout the whole region of the United States and he would steal mail. But Hudson also advertised for accomplices on social media. And the deal was simple. According to Captain Hill, Hudson would advertise for co-conspirators through social media, and whoever joined in would take half the cut. So let me use your bank account to deposit fraudulent checks, and you keep 50%. That was the pitch. Federal prosecutors identified 5 of the 8 main defendants as, quote, managers within the conspiracy. This wasn't a loose network of opportunists. It was structured, it was organized, and it was professional. According to court documents, the conspiracy was coordinated through a Telegram group chat. And the name of that chat? And this was named by one of the conspirators themselves. Fraud Academy. I still can't believe that. The members had names like Hunted K, Rambo, Big K, King Plaza, Wizard Joe. Screen names that sound like a rap collective. They were in a federal conspiracy. The chat included discussion of purchasing stolen checks, the purchase of a postal key, that's the key used to open mail collection boxes, and statements of successful fraud. I can't believe it, but they kept records of their crimes in a group chat that they named after their crimes. The question investigators would eventually ask, who is really running this thing? Montgomery, Alabama was headquarters. But the fraud touched 3 states, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. The eventual takedown would involve 15 agencies. The United States Postal Service Office of the Inspector General, the FBI, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, the FDIC, Office of the Inspector General, Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, plus state and local agencies across all 3 states. 15 agencies, 1 group chat. And then there was a yacht club in Venice, Florida. Yeah, you heard that right. But that's where everything changed. Let me take you to Venice, Florida in May of 2023. We're at the Venice Yacht Club, and it's been part of this community since 1951. More than 7 decades of teaching people to sail. Their mission statement talks about encouraging the education of young people in the community. They run youth boating programs. Their charitable foundation supports 15 local organizations. This is a place that gives back. Someone at the yacht club was reviewing their accounts one day, and the numbers just weren't adding up. 7 business checks, all altered. Over $75,000 gone. The club had mailed those checks for normal amounts, routine payments to vendors. But somewhere between the mailbox and the bank, those checks had become intercepted. They had been washed. They had been rewritten and cashed for far greater amounts. A 7-decade-old community institution that taught kids to sail had been robbed by a 25-year-old rapper 600 miles away. Venice Police Captain Eric Hill would later reflect on what cases like this mean for the community. It's really sad. There's a lot of our citizens here in the community who are on fixed incomes. And the yacht club wasn't the only victim, but they were the ones who noticed, and the ones who called the police, and the ones who started unraveling everything. Venice police began investigating, and they got lucky. Venice Police Captain Eric Hill would later describe what made this case different. The bank in question actually had very, very good surveillance and was able to get his tag number on his car, which gave us a name to go with the face we had on camera. A face, a tag, and a name. Hunter Hudson Jr., Montgomery, Alabama, 600 miles from Venice. And once they had a name, they had everything. Hey, quick note. If you like hearing the receipts behind stories like this, I send site subscribers an email when each episode drops with a one-time link to the case files. If you want to see behind the scenes, be sure to subscribe. You'll get the court documents, the source materials, and all the other information. Visit truecrimeunheard.com/subscribe. Hudson's social media, his Spotify profile, at the time of this recording, 144 monthly listeners. And his YouTube channel still got music videos. And in those videos, investigators found something remarkable. In his track, Cash Talk, Hudson raps,
I'm out here swiping for free. You can bring it back, man. I bet he ain't swiping like whip my ass off. You don't see all the jury nigga yet, that cat talk. All you gotta do is go and walk, slip in, that bad walk.
In another track, State to State, title that might reference the cross-state nature of fraud, he raps.
I teach you how to read, a nigga.
Teaching, that's what he called it. Captain Eric Hill told reporters he stole mail, altered checks, and rapped about it in his videos. Those videos became evidence. And here's why that matters. In that same interview, Hudson explained the connection between fraud and music.
Yeah, I make my best music, really. Shit, Jed, when I'm making money, like, if I made some money that day, I'm just gonna drop some shit. Like, that's just me, like, money, like, I make money, I'm finna go and drop some music, like, I'm gonna make some hard shit.
For Hudson, the crimes felt like creativity. Fresh money meant fresh tracks. The fraud wasn't separate from the music, it was the fuel. Venice PD began their investigation in May of 2023. The federal agencies were coordinating. Evidence was mounting. The case was building. In October, 5 months into the investigation, you're not going to believe this. Hudson released a new album. And the album was called, wait for it, Swipe God. 16 tracks available on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud. Yes, he released an album about fraud while under investigation for fraud. And his favorite track on that album? According to an interview he gave to DGB Media, a hip-hop outlet, his favorite was called What You Know About Swiping. In that same interview, he explained how he came up with the album title. 27 minutes on camera discussing his music, his life, and his creative process. And at one point, he said this: I listened to all the music I made, and then I hear what I'm talking about, and I'm like, damn, I'm talking about swiping. So I named the album that. He listened to his own lyrics, realized he was confessing to fraud, and then named the album after it. You can't make this up. In a case like this, that becomes Exhibit A. After Hudson's arrest, a hip-hop commentator put it perfectly.
If you do any crimes like this, it would be wise to not make music about it, and definitely don't name your album Swipe God or Came Up Off Swipes.
He could have used that advice 12 months earlier. Between October 2023 and May 24, investigators built their case, brick by brick. Phone records, bank records, the group chat, the music videos, the interview. One hip-hop commenter later observed how federal investigations work. The Fed's been watching him since last May. That's 1 year from the day he got arrested, and you know how the Feds play. They'll watch you for years before they close in on you. He was right. By May 2024, they were ready.
530, we're north of the alleyway, 51st Street, Washburn, Evening Side.
May 30th, 2024, in Venice, Florida, it was a sweltering late May day in Florida. Hunter Hudson was arrested in Venice, the same town where the yacht club checks had been cashed. 600 miles from Montgomery. And then he was booked into the Sarasota County Jail. And then the man who called himself Swipe God became a federal inmate. Hudson is in custody, but I haven't told you about the people who made his operation possible. The insiders who betrayed that public trust. That's coming. If you're finding value in this episode, take a moment to follow the show. leave a 5-star review. It helps other listeners find these cases. And remember, if you want the case files for this episode, you already needed to have subscribed. But don't miss out on future episodes. Visit truecrimeunheard.com. Subscribe, and you'll get the secret download link when each episode drops. One email, one link, only to subscribers. You remember when I told you there were postal workers feeding the pipeline? Well, let me tell you about James Glover. Glover was 44 years old, a postal carrier in Montgomery, Alabama. The kind of job where people trust you, where you're inside the system, where you have access to things that matter. And according to trial testimony during September and October of 2022, while working his mail route, Glover was stealing checks and documents containing financial information. He'd pull them from the route, he'd pass them on to the conspiracy, and keep delivering everyone else's mail like nothing happened. The person who delivered your mail was the person stealing it. Glover went to trial. Unlike most of the other defendants, he didn't plead guilty. He made the government prove it. And they did. On June 27th, 2024, a federal jury convicted him. 1 count of postal theft by an employee, 3 counts of mail fraud. He got 24 months. And he had to pay $66,000 in restitution. He wasn't the only postal worker involved. Keldrick Ortiz Jones, 24 years old, also from Montgomery, Alabama, also a postal employee. He pleaded guilty earlier, got 46 months, nearly 4 years. So that's 2 postal workers, 2 betrayals of public trust, and combined, 70 months in federal prison. Now let me tell you about Ethan Alexander Brown. Ethan Brown was 23 years old. He was a bank teller in Montgomery. He was young, he was employed, he was trusted. He was inside the system. According to federal prosecutors, Ethan Brown was directly involved in depositing 61 altered checks worth more than $2 million. 61 checks. $2 million. From the inside. That's the kind of accomplice you want. Now, I told you I'd come back to how much damage the bank teller did. His restitution order, $973,692 and a nickel. He was supposed to be paid to his former employer, the bank he betrayed. Good luck. Ethan Brown was the only defendant in the main conspiracy group to go to trial. He refused to plead guilty. On January 16th, 2025, a federal jury found him guilty anyway. His sentence? 34 months in Club Med. It's less than 3 years. He was 23 years old. He helped move $2 million in fraudulent checks through his teller window. And he'll be out before his 26th birthday. Hunter Hudson was the face, but Fraud Academy had a roster. 5 other defendants were sentenced between 40 months and 9 years each. Managers, recruiters, and account holders. But one story cuts differently in all of this. Destiny James. She's 23 years old, Auburn. The youngest defendant, the lowest sentence, 22 months. But here's what makes her case sting. She was a Tuskegee student also. Dual major, computer engineering and electrical engineering. GPA over 3.0, accepted to graduate school. Job offers waiting. She was also the mother of Hunter Hudson's child, Honey K, and the recipient of $89,000 in cashier's checks drawn from the fraud. Her fingerprint was on one of those checks. At her sentencing, the judge said something you don't often hear from the bench. "You make this one really hard, Ms. James. You were a super smart girl. The world was your oyster." And here's the detail that makes federal detention feel real. On Christmas Eve 2024, Destiny James filed a motion asking the court for permission to travel. A family member had died and she wanted to attend the funeral. The motion was denied. Even on Christmas Eve, the answer was no. By then, this was her life, a handgun hidden in her baby's diaper bag during a traffic stop. Stolen checks in the car beside her. The father of her child building evidence against himself, one track at a time. The judge let her finish her degree before surrendering. She'll graduate in May and then report to federal prison in June. Look at the ages across this case. The oldest defendant was 27. The youngest was 23. This wasn't a crew of seasoned criminals. This was young people using group chats, social media, and music videos to run an old crime at modern speed. Modern methods, ancient crime. June 27th, 2024, Federal Courthouse, Montgomery, Alabama. Hunter Hudson's detention hearing. The government wants him held without bail. They argue he's a flight risk, a danger to the community, and they have evidence to present. The government introduced exhibits GX1 and GX7, video evidence, Hudson's own videos, his own music, his own interview where he explained the album title. Imagine sitting in federal court, watching the FBI play your music videos, watching prosecutors quote your lyrics, hearing your own voice explain how you named your album after your crimes. 4 days later, on July 1st, the judge granted detention. Hudson would not be released pending trial. By October, the posture changes, the swagger is gone. The case is too built, the evidence is too clean. Hudson changes his plea. Guilty. Wire fraud, bank fraud, mail fraud. And then the conspiracy starts to fold the way conspiracies usually do. One person deciding they'd rather live with the truth than gamble on a jury. Guilty. 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 Except for Ethan Brown, that bank teller. He goes to trial and loses. By May 2025, the main indictment is finished. All 8 defendants sentenced. Let me transport you to May 6th, 2025. We're back at the federal courthouse in Montgomery, Alabama. This is the part of the story where the performance ends, where the nicknames don't matter, where the music doesn't matter. Only the math does. Hunter Hudson Jr., the face of the conspiracy, he gets 92 months, 7 years and 8 months. The restitution ordered, $987,883.50. Forfeiture, $91,000. This was a serious sentence. But it isn't the ceiling, because in this case, the longest sentence goes to someone most people never heard of. Brandon Michael Gage, 27 years old, from Montgomery, known in the group chat as Big B or Rich Ass B. Also designated a manager in the conspiracy. His intended loss amount, according to court documents, over $550,000. That's roughly a third of what prosecutors attributed to Hudson. His sentence? 135 months, 11 years and 3 months. More than Hudson, more than anyone in this case. And here's the detail that stands out. According to court records, Gage was remanded to custody immediately. No surrender date, no time to get his affairs in order. He was taken into custody right there in the courtroom. I've read the federal documents, I've reviewed the press releases, I've searched for an explanation. But the records don't tell us why Gage got the longer sentence. I don't know, but it must have been something. What I can tell you is this. The man who named his album after his crimes got 7.5 years. The man the court records barely mention got 11. That's not usually how these stories go. Let me give you the numbers. Combined prison time for all 10 defendants, the 8 in the main case plus those other 2 postal workers, 648 months. That's 54 years of collective federal prison time. Total restitution ordered? $2,284,141.47. Good luck collecting that. Total fines? $95,000. And one detail in the Department of Justice press release that should concern everyone who sends mail? Quote, "The investigation is ongoing." Unquote. Did you get that? They're not done. Court documents reference over 100 unindicted co-conspirators, over 100 identified victims, and the government acknowledges they couldn't identify everyone whose checks were stolen. The Fraud Academy enrolled more students than we know. And that same hip-hop commentator had something else to say about cases like this.
This whole scam rap, it kind of got to stop. Or it's kind of got to be like trap music. How if you actually in the street selling drugs, you probably don't need to rap and make videos about you selling drugs.
I got one last detail because symbolism matters in cases like this. July 25th, 2025, federal marshals execute a forfeiture order for a necklace, silver and rose gold. It's an SG pendant studded with clear stones. SG. Swipe God. The trophy from the fraud becomes property of the United States. And that's the quiet reversal at the heart of forfeiture. The thing you wore to signal power ends up as evidence, and then as consequence. Let me step back for a moment. I've investigated financial crimes for 30 years. I've seen fraud schemes of all sizes, from small-time cons to operations that stole millions, hundreds of millions or more. What strikes me about this case isn't the scale. I mean, $2 million is significant, but it's not the largest I've covered. What strikes me is the access. 2 postal workers, 1 bank teller. Insiders could have spent their entire careers in positions of public trust. And instead, they sold that trust for a cut of the fraud. These postal workers were caught. The bank teller was caught. But how many aren't? And here's what concerns me most. Fraud Academy wasn't operating alone. During this same time frame, in the same state, federal investigators identified at least 3 other Telegram-based check fraud operations. The Lucky Shop, $106,000. Glass House Records, run by another rapper. And work-related, $15 million in stolen checks. Same method, same geography, same time frame. Young Alabamans using Telegram group chats to coordinate check washing. Many with rapper personas, many recruiting insiders. Fraud Academy was just the one that got caught because their leader couldn't stop talking. The Fraud Academy operated for approximately 2 years before Venice PD cracked the case. 2 years of stolen checks and 2 years of insider access. 2 years before one yacht club's vigilance and one bank's surveillance footage brought it down. If you still mail checks, and a lot of people do, there are safer options. Online bill pay, walking it inside the post office instead of a blue box, monitoring your accounts. Because the system that's supposed to protect your mail sometimes has people in it that won't. At the sentencing hearing, the judge put it this way. People are scared to put or send checks, birthday checks to their grandchildren, or put anything in the mail because there's folks like this gang of people that were pulling checks out of the mail. There is a complete distrust of the United States Postal Service in this area, and that's the kind of repercussions this conduct has. That's a federal judge on the record talking about grandparents being afraid to mail birthday cards. That's the harm. So what happens when you name your conspiracy Fraud Academy and you can't resist turning the crime into content? You don't just commit the fraud, you document it, you narrate it. You hand investigators a soundtrack. And in this case, the bill came due. 92 months in federal prison, nearly $500,000 in restitution, and a record that doesn't disappear just because the case is over. Because Swipe God is still out there, still streamable, still telling the same story. Only now it plays like a warning label. Hunter Hudson wanted to be famous for fraud. He wanted to show people what swiping would get you. He showed them. And the part I can't stop thinking about is this. The scheme wasn't powered by genius. It was powered by access. A key, a route, a teller window. The ordinary places trust lives.
Yeah. Cases you ain't heard about.
Thank you for listening to True Crime Cases You Haven't Heard. I'm Steve Rode. If this case stayed with you, take a moment to rate and review the show. It helps other listeners find these great stories. Follow wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, subscribers get an email when the episode drops with a secret link to download the case files. You can visit truecrimeunheard.com and subscribe. Don't miss the next one. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and stay subscribed. Let me take you out with the theme song. Bye.
We honor the people, tell the whole story. No exploitation, just the glory of the truth coming to light. Cases overlooked, we make it right. plot devices. Not just names, not just crisis. Families deserve the dignity. Stories told with integrity. 30 years I walked this road. Investigations heavy load. From the dispatch desk to the mic, getting every detail right. True crime cases you have heard. Every single verified word. We honor the people, tell the whole story. No exploitation, just the glory of the truth coming to light. Cases overlooked, we make it right. And to my listeners, everyone, couldn't do this without you, son. You're the reason that I dig every case, small or big. This community we've made, truth and dignity display.